Black and white tape. I don't remember what drew me to the stall in the first place. It was crowded, filled with objects that smelled of rust, mildew, and forgotten years. A broken lantern, a chipped porcelain doll, stacks of vinyl records that warped in the heat. Among them, half buried under cracked frames and coiled wires, was the tape. A plain, black VHS. No label. No markings. Just scratches along the surface as if someone had tried to erase its history. When I asked the stall keeper about it, he hardly looked at me. His eyes flicked toward the box as though even noticing it made him uncomfortable. That? A mistake, he muttered. His voice was dry, like old paper. Take it for a coin. Better it leaves with you. I didn't know why, but I paid. The tape was heavier than it should have been, as though it carried something more than plastic and film inside it. Even the way it fit in my hand felt wrong, too balanced, too deliberate, as if it had been waiting for me. I didn't have a VCR anymore. Who did? But in the attic of the house I'd inherited from my parents, there was still an old projector. Not a normal one, my uncle had built it, a hybrid between reel and VHS, a contraption that buzzed with unreliable electricity whenever I plugged it in. I hadn't touched it in years. I set the tape down on the attic floor that night. The wood was soft with age, the air damp with dust. Boxes were stacked around me like silent walls. The projector sat at the far end of the room, its lens clouded with grime, its surface cold as stone. I pushed the tape in. The machine groaned, whined, and then came to life with a flicker of static. The sound filled the attic, that familiar hiss of nothingness that was somehow louder than silence. And then the picture formed. At first, it was only a blur of gray and white, lines running down the screen like rain on glass. Slowly, it sharpened. A bed. A window. A desk I knew too well. It was my childhood bedroom. My chest tightened. The wallpaper was still peeling at the top corner where I used to pick at it. The toy train sat on the floor, its paint unchipped, though in my memory I had broken it when I was 10. Everything was there as it had been, unaltered, frozen in the exact way it had existed years ago. And then I saw him. A boy, sitting on the bed. He had my face. My hair. My scar. But he was younger, 7 years old, the same age I had been in 1930. He sat perfectly still, staring directly into the lens. There was no curiosity in his eyes. No confusion at the camera recording him. Instead, there was something older in that gaze. Knowing. A stare too sharp for a child. I felt a pulse in my chest as his lips pulled into a slow, deliberate smile. The screen flickered before I could react. The boy was gone. Now the camera was moving, gliding down the hallway of my childhood home. Shadows crawled along the edges of the walls, making the space darker than I remembered. The camera stopped at the staircase. At the bottom stood a figure. Tall. Too tall. Its limbs thin, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. No face. No details. Only a shape, featureless, yet heavy with presence. It tilted its head upward, toward the lens. Toward me. I waited for it to move. To climb. It didn't. The screen dissolved into static. I sat in the dark attic, my throat dry, my body refusing to move. The machine kept hissing, but no picture returned. After a minute, I pressed rewind. The gears clicked like teeth grinding. The picture returned. Not to the bedroom. Not to the hallway. To the attic. My attic. Now. The boxes were in the same places. The same slant of moonlight cut across the floor. Even the window was cracked open just as I had left it. And there, in the center of the attic floor, was a figure. It had my face, but distorted, eyes black voids, fingers too long, joints bending the wrong way. It sat crouched, its head cocked like an animal, staring into the screen. Into me. The picture tore apart, the lines breaking, and for a heartbeat the figure moved closer, filling the screen with its warped face. Then, black. I reached for the eject button, but the projector didn't respond. It whirred again, grinding, then began to play without my touch. The image returned to my childhood bedroom. The boy was back on the bed. But he wasn't alone. The tall figure from the staircase now stood beside him. Its long shadow covered the bed like a blanket. Both of them were smiling. The boy raised his hand and waved, slow and careful, as though inviting me. The screen cut to black. I yanked the cord from the wall. The projector went silent, the air thick with burnt dust. My chest was heaving. My hands shook. I didn't hesitate. I carried the tape outside, to the fire pit. The plastic warped and melted as the flames took it, releasing thick, black smoke that curled into the sky like something escaping. It smelled of wet earth and photographs too long buried. When nothing was left but charred ash, I felt something ease in me. Safer. Lighter. I slept that night believing it was gone. But at 3 a.m. I woke to the sound of the projector running. From the attic. I hadn't plugged it back in. I hadn't brought it inside. And faintly, through the boards above my bed, I heard the sound of a child's laugh. Slow. Deliberate. And then a voice, thin, whispering, impossible to tell if it was real or only inside my head, rewind.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next one. Thanks for listening.